What's up, people? What's up, people? It is going down. It is Breakdown 502, your interactive source for midweek content for all good things going on with the fellas of Wake Up 502, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio, Rashawn Myers, Haven Harrington, the architect himself, and the producer with the most, Mr. Roman Kelly, aka Romy Bean. Fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
I mean, doing
Doing
real good.
doing well.
Excellent, excellent. Happy start of the NBA season. It is going down. Romans bootleg Los Angeles Lakers is going down tonight. The Nepo baby himself, Bronny James, makes his debut.
I'm locked in.
I know you're excited about it. It doesn't sound like the New York fans are having much fun right now as the Boston Celtics are just absolutely
They're getting
destroying.
smoked.
Yeah, yeah,
I
They
mean,
just
like,
rolled them up and smoked them.
So yeah, that's going down. But and speaking of other people not necessarily getting smoked, but not being too happy right now, that would be one University of Louisville Fighting Football Cardinals and head coach Jeff Brom, and by extension defensive coordinator Ron English. Fellas, it was a rough time. It was a fun game on Saturday, but unfortunately, it was not a successful day on Saturday. In what basically ended up being another must-win scenario, the Cardinals were not able to get it done, falling to the Hurricanes, our friends to the south, in a 52-45 slobber knocker, a game that just went down to the wire. It seemed like it was going to come down to who had the ball last, and unfortunately, University of Louisville could not come up with enough plays to get it done. In this situation, it seems like this is more, for the most part, eliminated the University of Louisville from the opportunity to make a return trip to the ACC championship game unless there's just a wild, wild turn of events. I just don't see a pathway for the Cardinals to get back there. So um, I know I have thoughts about just everything. I feel like for most everybody after this loss, it's almost like we are, or at least I'll say this: I am in now reevaluation mode of the expectations of the season. But I want to know what you guys feel about the game, how you're feeling after the game, and kind of your outlook moving forward. Because I feel like this, after that loss on Saturday, it kind of changes the discussion about everything. So, I will not direct you guys in any specific direction with that. I just want to know what you all are feeling on it, and then we can just kind of chop it up from there. Haven, I guess I'll let you go first since they say it's age before beauty. So, you the old man in the room.
there you go. I just want to say this, baby. Brown ball is back. What we saw Saturday is what we've been waiting to see. That was brown ball. The offense balled out of control, and the defense couldn't stop anybody. That was vintage West Kentucky Brom right there, baby, and was on full display Saturday.
That's fair. Now that I will have to agree with that. That was
Vintage
vintage
Brom.
Western Kentucky. That is true. I'll agree
That
with
was
that.
West Kentucky Brom all day. We've been waiting to see it. He called it masterful offensive game. Masterful offensive game. Couldn't stop anybody. That was Brom all day at West Kentucky. That was us Saturday. As I predicted on the show, it was going to be a shootout. Miami's going to come on top because I think we couldn't stop them, and we was going to be too sloppy. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, Roman. How are you feeling? A few days after the game, like what are your thoughts on things just overall with the program?
That it's not good enough. That what they're putting out on the field is not good enough. And I mean, I'm right with Haven in the sense that I've wanted to see all year out of the high level athletes that we have, out of probably the best athletes Jeff Brom has ever had. I wanted to see offensively what we saw Saturday 3 games ago. I think the first two games of the year, cool. You don't need to see it then. You try to get away with showing as little as you can against Georgia Tech, and from there on, the matchups have kind of required it. And I just, to know that we could have done more in pretty much every game we've been in offensively makes me feel a little bit weird. I don't like it. But at the same time, it's a good sign, right? Braum has shown he still has it. He shows he can still be that innovative offensive mind. He is. Outside of that, defensively, Ron English, the relationship that they have, or not relationship, I shouldn't say that, but how they go about the defensive play calling and make decision making together on the defensive end of things. At this point, I don't think you can. If you look at the last 3 games, even 4 games of last year to now, and just look at every defensive performance we've seen since then,
Yeah.
something isn't working in the way their philosophy and how they want to go about operating the defense is. It's not right. It's not working. Maybe that is based on the types of recruits you're bringing in. Maybe it's based on the number of or the types of transfers you're bringing in, or the number of transfers you're bringing in. I don't know, but it's not worked. Um, if you have to go the route you've been going with transfers and using the players that are, I call it win now mode, but not trying to build your high school players up over a year or two span, or maybe you kind of have been doing that and they haven't been panning out when you want them to. So you've been relying on these transfers, and then you're going about your defense in a way that isn't developing chemistry. It's not allowing for guys to just come in one year and immediately be able to showcase everything that they can defensively. It's something they've got to figure out over time, right? So personally, I'm thinking if you're going to go the route you are with recruiting in general, with lesser high school recruits and more transfers, you've got to find a way to change your philosophy defensively because it hasn't worked for you well enough to be a contender in the ACC like we thought it would.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you. I like what you said there about it not being good enough. And in this new age of NIL, I look at it from this aspect. The University of Louisville spent the lion's share of their NIL on defense. They spent a lot of money to retain Ashton Gelati. They spent a lot of money to retain Quincy
Quincy Riley,
Riley.
yeah.
They spent most of their money on defensive transfers, bringing over guys like Garrard from FIU, bringing over guys like Tramel Logan from USF, bringing in a lot of defensive help. They spent a lot of money on defense. So, like, I don't. One thing that I don't want to hear is that Louisville did not go out there and get the best players they could to help shore up the defense. They spent a whole hell of a lot more money on defense than they did offensively. So for the defense to be this bad, especially with what Louisville had coming back from a very successful defense in 2023, to bring back that much returning talent and then spend as much as you did in the transfer portal to shore up and increase the depth defensively, that's where I say it's not good enough. And I know it's very odd to talk about how much money you paid for players, but Louisville literally went the inexpensive route, as they say, at the quarterback position, being able to get Tyler Shuck for a pretty decent bargain because of his injury history and some of those other things, opting against going for a DJU, opting against going for a Cam Ward or one of these higher price guys. And Louisville did that so they could go out there and make sure that they could get the depth that they felt they needed to have a well balanced team. And to see the defense underperform this radically when you know that there's talent out there, that's not good enough from the I like that. That's where I put it on the staff. Like I don't say that this is a talent issue. I don't say that this is an issue where Louisville didn't have the horses. This is completely falls at the feet of Jeff Brom, and this completely falls at the feet of Ron English. And I feel like we've gotten the answers for when Louisville has been most successful. Fellas, I feel like a broken record, but these are the same conversations that we were having last year with Scott Satterfield is when Louisville went out there and just went with the aggressive, attacking style of defense, we've seen it be successful. Hell, it was successful against Miami on Saturday when Louisville was aggressive, playing downhill, trying to get into Cam Ward's face, and tackling him and sacking him. They were very successful. But guess what we would do? You get Miami in the third and long, and now we want to back off. We want to go back to our shell, nickel and dime coverage and try to play coverage. And what happens? Cam Ward sits in the pocket.
You
The
get
front
picked
four
apart. Yeah.
can't get there, and Cam Ward jogs 18, 19 yards for a first down in probably the most critical play of the game. I really feel like when Miami got that first down in the fourth quarter, where Cam Ward on that third and long just jogs for a first down. And Jeff Brom even mentioned it when I asked him after the game that Louisville has been horrible in third and long defensive situations where they have
All year.
continually just taken their foot off the pedal and gone soft and continually given up either long pass completions or allowed quarterbacks to run for those first downs. And yet and still, Haven Harrington, they continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. That is absolutely mind blowing. That, like, I talked about it earlier. The fact that it took Jeff Brom and staff until last game, until the Virginia game, to make some tangible changes. That was crazy. But now it's crazy that we're still not understanding is that the best version of ourselves defensively is literally never when we play 7 or 8 man prevent defense, and yet and still we opt for it time and time again, and it's just driving me insane. Like, and do you think I'm wrong for that?
Not at
I
all.
mean, even so, like you look at the game, and even when they were in position to make a stop, they still couldn't tackle. I don't know how many times like dudes got ran over, and for some reason like they weren't trying to like tackle through the player, and especially secondary players. They kept trying to sling dudes around rather than like hit them with the shoulder and tackle through them, which I didn't get. And a lot of arm tackling, and guys would just will break the arm tackles and get another 5, 10, 15 yards. And what's so amazing is that you didn't see this last year. And these are a lot of same guys coming back from last year's defense, which was really good. Like if we had last year's defense, or almost like most of the same guys this year, you're looking at either undefeated team or maybe just a one-loss team.
I mean, I can't say. I mean, Haven, and we chatted about this as well. To me, it feels like the further that we're getting away from a Brian Brown coached defense, the worse our fundamentals are getting, the worse our tackling is getting. Some of those things that I felt were very strong under Brian Brown, I felt that even when Louisville was defense was not great when he first got here, the fundamentals improved exponentially over what they were under the previous regime. Like there was never a doubt about the tackling. There was never a doubt about, at least when our defensive guys got there, they put guys to the ground. They just, because they were so passive so much of the time, they would kind of just stand back and give up 10 and 12 and 15-yard completions and then go make the tackle. But at least when they got there, they got their guy to the ground. But it feels like the further that we're getting away from Brian Brown and those defensive fundamentals being coached year after year, there's a reason that coaches teach every year. It doesn't matter if you have the same players there for 2 and 3 years. What do they start camp with every year? Fundamentals. So, like, to me, it feels like those fundamentals that were taught under the Brown regime and the Brown defensive concepts, obviously that same fundamental work is not working as good with, English. And to me, it just
Well,
feels like you're
I'm,
two
I'm
years
gonna say
past it.
this. I'm
You
gonna
know,
say this about Brian. Uh, yeah, they were slightly more fundamentally sound.
oh, not slightly. There were a lot
No,
more fundamental. They did not
slightly,
miss. No, no.
slightly.
No,
Will
no, they
Levis
did. They did
got to
not miss
the
Haven
NFL.
Haven Harrington, but
Will Levis
they did
got to
not miss.
the NFL
Hey,
by
hey,
trucking our entire
hey.
secondary
Like I said,
year after year.
you can't pull out the Kentucky game because the
All
Kentucky
the
game
Kentucky
that
games,
was a
not
completely
just one
different
Kentucky game,
situation. Oh
all
no,
the Kentucky
hey, but
games,
we
all the
understand that.
Clemson games
But we
did the same
understand that.
thing. We got switching
I,
on the Clemson
I,
games.
I
We
don't,
got
I don't.
switching on Miami games. Every
Hey, but
big team that we played in Scott Satterfield, these guys got trucked. The
I,
only time their defense did anything was when he was about to get fired his last season, and then
hey,
all of a sudden they figured this shit out. Because before then, we got trucked by Syracuse.
hey,
We
all
got
I know is
trucked by
this.
Boston College.
All I
Zay
know is this.
Flowers, the only person Boston College had on the team, Zay Flowers ran over us, around us, through us, sideways, zigzagged, and then was like, we're about to fire this dude, get him out of here. And then miraculously, Scott Satterfield had a press conference like, I'm getting involved in the defense, and they became murderers row until they played Kentucky and Clemson.
Yeah, I know. I know. I totally agree with you. When you look at those specific games, but I once again felt like Scott Satterfield was not at all prepared to get his team ready for any sort of rivalry game or any team where he gave way too much respect to. He just didn't know how to prepare his teams for those games. But I'm speaking specifically of defensive fundamentals. Like I said, that was one thing that I was consistent with the whole time that they were there. Is the one thing that, when Bobby Petrino left, the defensive fundamentals at University of Louisville were horrible. And that was the one thing that I noted from the first year that they got here through the time that they left, was that at least fundamentally they were sound. And that doesn't mean that they were perfect. That doesn't mean that they did not have those issues in those games like Kentucky and Miami and Clemson. I give you all of that. I don't disagree with you on any of that. But I'm just specifically speaking of those tackling fundamentals have not been that bad since before Scott Satterfield took over. And it's looking a lot like that last year with Petrino, when Louisville gave up, what they give up, 50 points the last 6 or 7 games of the year, that year under Petrino?
Yeah, like almost like the last 8 games of the year.
It was something crazy. But I mean, I haven't seen the defensive fundamentals this bad, Haven, since then. Like that's unexcusable because it's not about talent and it's not about not having the guys. We know we have the talent. We saw how good they were last year. Like it's not that. It's got to be the coaches. So at this point, Roman, what do you like? How do you fix that? Like what is your thoughts about what you do in that type of situation?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the first step to going about fixing that. If I'm being honest, I think that you have to prioritize figuring out something different that works better for you, because it just hasn't worked. When you Rashawn, you have it in front of your face in the last 4 outings of this team. The basic football changes you can go out and attempt to make and see if they go. Blitz more often. Don't drop 8 in coverage against guys who can run. Those are not. Those are not. That's not rocket science, right?
Yeah. You would think.
You would think. You would think. I will say we got a lot of breaks last year defensively, right? I think you're both actually not wrong. We were about a whole tier better. We weren't some just crazy great defensively the team last year. Now we're some bozo defensive team this year, but we were about a whole tier better. And then we also had some of the games that we had led to a lot of breaks for us defensively and able to stay in control of the games. Not like this year at all.
Right.
I don't know. You have to dig more into your young guys and coach the philosophy from day one and the young guys that you bring in and put them out there, let them play, right? I think you start spending the money on the offense when you know that you've got the playbook to go play against anybody, go put points on anybody. You go spend the money in the transfer portal on offense. You go get every big, athletic local kid you can, and any four stars that you can as freshmen. You come in, you bring them in, you bring a couple of transfers, and you play the young guys. You play the young guys. You try to build a defensive chemistry and a defensive identity over a couple of years span, right?
Yeah.
Having to completely change up what your defense, how your defense is good, Mason Reiger, you didn't you didn't get someone on the right side that like Mason Reiger made it that much different for you for your
Yeah,
defensive line. There's no
yeah. I
way.
mean that
You know,
can't.
Well,
Tramel Logan's good. You know what I mean? Destel's good. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So
no, what?
I just want to say, I think you bring young guys in defensively. You start spending the money on the offense. You bring the young guys in on the defense, and you play them regardless. Because at this rate, if you keep taking the philosophy you've got now, you're only going to be an 8-4 team in the ACC. And you're not going to get any better than this.
Well,
If you keep
the only problem with that philosophy so far is if you look at Louisville's recruiting class now, and even our recruiting class last year,
wouldn't work, that wouldn't
out
be
of high
possible.
school, we're not getting any major talent.
Yeah,
We're getting guys who's going to take at least 2 to 3 years of coaching up in the system before they're ready. And a vast majority of our team are made out of transfers. So you almost
then
got yourself.
go get the 1 year transfer. Go get the freshmen, the red shirt freshmen or the true sophomores from the
Well,
schools that they didn't get to play. You know what I mean? Go bring those guys in and focus on getting them some snaps in year one, and then getting them as full time starters in year two, and letting that be your pitch to them that in year two. You leave Alabama, come to us. You're going to play immediately in your sophomore year, and by your junior year, you'll be a full time starter on what we believe will be an elite defense.
or or just get more aggressive, right? Just literally just get more aggressive and just be like, if we get beat, if you get beat 1-on-1, fine, but we're gonna put all the pressure we can on the quarterback
I
with at least
agree.
5 dudes every time.
That should be a no brainer. I agree 100%. But at the same time, Haven, this year, game after game, starting from game two, starting from Jacksonville State with Tyler Huff, the linebackers, the secondary, and even moments within the defensive line, there's been a lack of communication. There's been a lack of a sense of urgency. There's been a lack of understanding of placement on the field and where to be, which you shouldn't you know you shouldn't get into August without knowing those kind of things. You shouldn't even be in August without knowing those kind of things.
Fellas, I have a stat to blow your minds right now because I just wanted to look it up. I looked it up. Can you guess what Louisville's ranking was in total defense last year
In the country,
in the country?
I would say we were probably in the 20 to 30 range.
21st. Louisville was 21st in total defense. There were only 20 teams better defensively than Louisville last year. Do you know where they currently stand in Division 1 FBS football right now?
I
Around
guess
70 something.
60th to 70th.
72nd. They have fallen 51 spots
Jeez.
defensively from last year to this year. That is not. And Louisville, and like I said, they returned almost all of their key defensive players outside of a few guys, and they went out there and doubled down on the amount of guys that they brought in via the transfer portal, and they really beefed up what they had. Like they doubled the amount of defensive players that they brought in this
I mean,
year
what
versus last.
makes this so infuriating is that this was the year that Louisville was supposed to take that step. Right? This was it. This was the year that we were building up.
That you go
And
establish that you're one of the
yeah,
elite teams in the
yeah,
ACC.
and only problem second year, right? This was the year that we're supposed to make that run for the playoff because we had the quarterback, right?
You had
We
the
had
offense.
the
You had the whole
receiver.
offense for it.
Yeah, you had the offense that you didn't have last year, right? And you brought back, like you said, Sean, most of the guys, all your top players on the defense from last year, all your studs, you brought back this year.
Yeah,
And then when added in the portal, what you would think was like depth, like real depth behind these guys.
yeah,
So you were thinking this would have been a year to take that jump. Like the defense, if like I said, if it just stayed the same, if it didn't get any better or worse, it stayed the same. But the offensive production we have now, this would have been, one of those years, talking like 2013
yeah,
with Teddy and those guys. It's almost like a 2004 squad or with Steven LaFleur's or maybe 2006 with Brian Brom, one of those type of
right,
Louisville teams. And
right.
still we got like a John L. Smith squad,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, literally, it's like because Brom believed that if I get the quarterback position right, my offense will be ready. I feel like I have the playmakers to get it done. We were able to snag Colin Lacey. We were able to snag Ja'Cory Brooks. So if we can just make sure that the defense, it doesn't have to be as good as last year, but at least if it can be close to as good as last year, I feel like I can get us where we need to be offensively to be successful. And that was the way he built this team. That's why he doubled down on his defense. So for his defense to be this bad when he put this much into it and returned as much talent as he had, that's why I said, man, you don't have anywhere to go but to blame the coaches and
Yeah,
the
it's it.
preparation.
It's scheme. The scheme doesn't match. I don't think it matches the personnel.
Agreed.
And then preparation, the
And then
fundamental
preparation.
preparation, the things that are intangible, that regardless of scheme, the things that
Yeah.
have to be good regardless of scheme aren't
Yeah. And I
haven't
will
been they
say
haven't been
this:
good enough.
we didn't really see the dearth of the missed tackles until the fourth quarter, and I think that a lot of that had to do with the simple fact that Louisville could not get off the field. I mean, this has been
Yeah.
the issue that's been happening over and over again. Is that Louisville, the only thing that Louisville's doing successfully right now, outside of a couple of busted plays versus SMU and Notre Dame, Louisville hasn't really been giving up the explosive touchdowns. But what's been happening is they're giving up, you know, 8, 10, 12, 15 play drives for touchdowns. They've have so continuously get into these third and shorts, fourth and short, situations, and they can never get off the field. And I mean that's what's happening. I mean that's what we saw against Miami on Saturday. Miami wasn't gouging Louisville going down and just getting explosive 50 and 60-yard touchdowns. They were just dinking, dunking, and just continually moving the chains, leaving the defense out there. And the defense is out there for 70 snaps. And by the fourth quarter, people are upset and wondering why they're getting ran over. It's like, well, dude, they have been out there all game because they can't get off the field. And Brahms out there doing his thing. So Brahm is scoring on some explosives and he's getting big plays, and Louisville's been able to keep up because they're getting these 4 and 5 and 6 play touchdowns. But now here comes Miami back out there again, and it's dink, 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 dink right down the field, another 12 play drive, and it just it is very frustrating because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Louisville had the team to where they should be undefeated right now. They have
Oh
the
yeah.
talent to where they should
Yeah.
be undefeated right now, and that's what makes you mad because they are wasting, you know, Tyler Shuck, who's probably the best pure passing quarterback that Louisville's had since Teddy Bridgewater was here, and
Easy.
to waste a kid with that much talent and to have a team with enough around him offensively and defensively for this team to be successful, it's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's
I
mouth.
mean,
I
but
mean,
and the sad part about it is it's more than enough offensive talent, right? At the
yeah,
beginning of the season, we thought the running backs would take a step back because there's no way you can replace Gerard Jordan, Isaac Rendo. You just can't replace those guys, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
That there's no way you can replace the thrash at wide receiver. Just these are next level guys. You can't
Corey
replace.
Brooks is better than Jamari Thrash, bruh.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's that thing. Is like
And we
our
have the
wide
best
receiver,
freshman running back in the nation.
our wide receiver core is better. Our running back core is deeper and better than last year's team.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Our tight ends are 1,000 light years better,
Yeah.
and yet here
I,
we are at 4-3
It's
with
unbelievable.
mind-boggling losses to Notre Dame and
And
SMU.
SMU.
you've been using this. Is what happens when you use a vanilla playbook on third down all year. On third and long, you've been doing nothing that the defense wasn't or the offense wasn't prepared for all year.
Yeah. Well, did you hear what Cam Ward said about playing against Louisville's third down defense? Did you hear that? He
My
said
point
he
exactly. My point
literally
exactly.
said that Louisville really doesn't change up and do anything different. So we basically knew exactly what we needed to do to be able to have an execute our game plan and move the sticks. He's
He
like
did
it was
not.
basically said it was easy.
He did not utilize the playbook nearly at the rate in which he did last year. And then defensively, I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think you complicated things too much this year, and didn't have the preparation for it for those changes that you made. Which I'm not, you lost a couple guys, you lost a couple starters, three, you know, two or three guaranteed starters. I'm pretty sure from last year's defense, which I understand, but you
You lost
replaced them.
Cameron. You lost Cameron Kelly. You lost Storm Duck. You lost Jarvis Brownlee. Those are
And
your
Mason
three guys.
Riger.
And Mason Riger's hurt. But Riger was a
So you
reserve.
lost, yeah.
He didn't start. So
You're right. He didn't start.
I mean, and
Yeah,
Cameron Kelly
so
was only a part-time starter. I mean,
yeah,
so.
so this is no excuse. I mean, it's literally at this point there is no excuse, especially no excuse for the defense to be this bad. There's no excuse for it to take 5 games, 4 to 5 games for Brown to figure out, hey, I got some good tight ends. Maybe I should use them. And now your best tight end is hurt for the season and is out.
Yeah. But I mean, but I think that's the difference between the offense and the defense. Like offense, I feel like we have gripes because there are certain things they could have done better. But at the end of the day, I feel like the offense is scoring enough points, even with not getting the most out of out of the team that they could, and even with Brown being a little bit predictable on first downs and being a
And
little
not having the right
unimaginative on.
tackle.
Yeah, like I feel like those are gripes, but they're still scoring enough to where they should be more successful. So like that's my thing is, yeah, we have some gripes offensively, and yes, there are some things that they could get better. But at the end of the day, they're scoring more enough. What did we say, Haven? At the beginning of the year, we said what? If this, I feel that if our defense is as good as we think it is, we shouldn't have to score more than 28 points, 31 points to beat anybody. We should be able with if our defense, I mean, if our offense can at least give us that. That was the way we were talking at the beginning of the year. We're like, can our offense please be good enough to get us 28 to 31 points? Because we know that our defense most nights isn't going to give up more than 17 to 21 points. That
Shooey.
that that was the way we were looking going into the year.
Yeah. And now
And
it's back to WKU days. We got to score at
yeah,
least like mid 40s.
yeah, you got to be 50. First to 50 wins. I mean, it's literally the Chris Redman years all over again. First to 50. You just got to figure out a way to just, and that was the other question I asked Jeff Rom in the press conference is, do you have to change how you prepare this team to be successful? Do you have to start playing more up tempo to go out there and maximize your offensive possessions and score as many points? And Jeff basically said, yeah. He said at this point everything is on the table because we can't. He said coming into the year there was a certain way that we played last year and we thought that we could be successful with that, but it's not working. So yeah, I'm going to have to reevaluate that. And I appreciate Jeff being candid and honest with that. My only thing is, why the hell did it take you this long to figure that out?
Because it was obvious.
It was obvious since game 3.
Yeah, it was more than obvious that your defense needs
I
help.
mean, the defense got whipped by Jacksonville State game 2. So honestly, it was obvious by the halftime of game 2 that this was not a team that you could run and an offense and a game plan overall that you could do what you did last year. So why did it take you until we're sitting here mid-season and Louisville's 4-3?
And every team has attacked us exactly the same way.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
all speed up, either go no huddle or they speed it up on us, so we can't substitute or we substitute late and get confused. The quarterback steps back, surveys the field, and then nonchalantly runs for 20 or 30 yards because it's always going to be
Hey, Haven, that was scouted. That was one of those things where they said, look, these dumbasses are going to go into a prevent man sort of look on third down. So all we got to do, if you have a read and a guy that's wide open, take it. If it's not, give it a few seconds and then find the rushing lane, and you should be able to run and at least get close to a first down. That was scouted. That's been scouted by the last 3 teams that Louisville's played.
and they've
And
all done it.
every single team has played us like a damn fiddle, doing the
Every
same
team.
thing.
You saw it over and over. And Cam Ward was the worst guy for this because he may be the best quarterback in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just exploited us just willy nilly.
And we didn't. It's funny. Like early in drives, he wasn't great every play. He was not. He made bad throws. He
No.
missed throws. He missed a good amount of throws. And it's just funny that every time we needed a stop, every time Cam Ward had to be great, we
He
let
was
him be.
great.
We let him
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
We let him be.
And
It's
honestly, Haven, I'm gonna be real with you. Like to me, even with the defense, I feel like when we were in the passive zone types of situation, I actually feel like it made our tackling worse because it seemed like we were always caught flat-footed, standing there waiting for the guy to get to us, rather than playing downhill and going to look to create the contact. We just allowed the contact to come to us and just let them run us over. You know what I mean? Like there's that passive nature. It reminded me so much of just some of these bad defenses that Louisville has had over the years from time to time, and
Like
it's
Peter
just
Sherman.
yes, like I cannot, I
See,
just can't
that's
believe we're
attitude,
here.
right? Like, see, that's all about attitude
Yes,
and who wants it more.
yeah,
And
it's
maybe
kind of
Louisville
culture
fans,
too. It's
yeah,
culture too.
and,
absolutely culture.
and maybe Louisville fans, maybe we got uh I'm gonna say complacent, but used to like the strong type defense when he was here, how they were just like when it came to play big games, they were usually always prepared. They hit hard and it was ready to go.
I mean, I don't even think it's that. Louisville had the 21st ranked defense last year. They had
Last
a good damn defense. They had a good defense last year. So we weren't spoiled by anything. These are the same dudes we had last year. So we
I don't
expected them
know. I
to at
mean,
least be as good as they were last year. The defense is the reason that Louisville won 10 games last year. Like that's why Louisville went 10-2. Like so to go from a situation where you had a defense that carried a team that was far from perfect, to go to this year where the defense is absolutely horrendous with almost the same group and cast of characters is ridiculous.
and what makes it worse is like the schedule does us no favors,
No,
right? Next
no,
game is Boston College. They're 4-3. Isn't Pittsburgh still undefeated?
yeah,
I
Uh,
think
yeah,
the transfers you brought in just aren't good enough for Sean. And you say,
Clemson,
a lot of the returning players
yeah.
came back. There's also like a handful of guys who are returning players who aren't playing more than some transfers right now, who played more
Ashton,
last year than they did
but
this year.
even the guys that are returning that aren't like Ashton Gelati has not had a good year. Quincy
I
Riley
think
has
that's not
not
his
had a
fault.
good year.
I don't think that's Ashton Gelati's fault. When you rush four all year, you know you're getting the best ones getting double teamed.
That's fair. I mean, that's absolutely fair. But I mean, I feel like I don't think anybody's playing well. Like real talk. Like, and the funny thing is, the guy who I think is playing the best is probably Corey Thornton, who's the transfer from
Other than the
UCF.
SMU
But
game,
that damn
he
cast on
got
his
babied in the SMU game. What's his name? That quarterback came in, threw a lob up. That
he
quarterback came in one
he did
throw, threw a lob up, and that boy just shoved Corey Thornton to the side and snagged that in. Just
he did. No,
pushed him right off to
that's
the
fair.
side as he
But
snagged him in.
I feel like Corey Thornton would have maybe 2 or 3 interceptions if he didn't have that damn cast on his hand because he's
Yeah.
made some great plays on the
Since
ball.
that moment, though, he has been pretty.
You know,
He's been better.
I think yeah. I mean, but I mean honestly, I just think that everybody's been playing badly, and I feel like when it's a full systems failure like that, when the whole defense is playing bad and everybody's playing bad, that is not a player issue. That
no,
is a
it's all
coaching
scheming. It's
issue.
all coaching because like with Ashton
Coaching
Lottie,
issue.
like Ashton Lottie from last year to this year. We talked about his production is going to weigh down, right? Well, this year's been double teamed. So the coach is like, let's move him around. Let's put him in the middle. And they literally just they moved him all over the line, right?
Yeah.
To try to see if he could work it out. And then he tried to lead him in his natural position, defensive end. Then he gets double teamed. And the Louisville's kind of stuck. Against the Miami game, they started to run some stunts with the defensive tackles, and they kind of got a little bit of
They brought some
success.
pressure with the linebackers and with the safeties
Yeah,
as well.
but that's what you have to do, right? When he's been double teamed, that means that there's a spot open that you could get a rusher to get a free rusher in if you bring a blitz. Those are things like we really haven't been doing.
And that's
It's
what's crazy. Like
advantage of
Louisville's
the
success
matchup.
rate, Louisville's success rate when they rush six has been outstanding this year. But they only rush six like 15 to 20% of the time. So when you're only rushing, maybe not even that much, might be
Yeah, I was
10%
going to say
of the
probably
time.
less than that.
Yeah,
Like, but they by far have their most successful defensive downs when they're rushing six, and they hardly ever do it. Like I don't I don't know what the plan is, but this has been the most poor job of making adjustments because I don't blame you for your initial if you have your initial setup and your game plan and you feel like this is going to work, once you find out it's not going to work, your job is to be able to make those changes on the fly and adjust to what does work. And
Well,
Louisville has been very slow to change and adjust. I
they
don't know
have.
why.
Well, I think the problem is our linebackers have been very. What's what I'm looking for?
Linebackers.
Mid.
TJ Quinn was almost an all ACC player last year. I have not heard TJ Quinn's name. I almost thought he was hurt. Brother man
Well,
is starting every game and he has not made a play.
and that's the thing, right? It's just like our linebackers haven't been that good, so they're probably trying to cover for the linebackers by not blitzing and running so they don't get beat, so you can have this stack coverage. Basically, everything's predicated on we don't want to give the big play and we don't want to get beat deep. So,
So let's just let
let,
them have an 18 play drive and still give up the touchdown.
which is which going back is Satterfield philosophy, right? This is Satterfield defensive game planning and ball all over again.
It is. It really is. Yeah,
Let's
it
play
is.
soft and not
And
worry
it
about
doesn't work.
it. It doesn't work at
Yeah.
all. It
I
hasn't worked.
mean,
It's not going to work. And look at the next games coming up. Like I said, we don't play any weak teams. Boston College, the team we play on Friday night, is going to be our best chance for a win
yeah.
because even though they're 4-3, they're kind of a struggle 4-3, right? They had to come back to beat Western Kentucky. Um, they've been barely beating teams and just kind of holding on. So this is going to be our best chance for a win. Is this Friday? And I think Vegas has us up with a 7-point favorite
Yeah.
in Boston College on Friday, like something like that. So, I mean, that's it. After that, Pittsburgh, it's tough. We're going to get beat by Clemson again.
You never know.
Yeah, I do know.
Hey, that Dave Ragone team beat a top 5 Florida State team when they had no business beating them Haven Harrington. So anything is possible.
You're right. Anything is possible, but we have not beaten Clemson, and they're a much better defensive team than Miami.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Because
Yeah.
Miami's defense is just all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Bunch of
No, I
unorganized athletes. It's really
but
all that
I mean,
is.
this is the thing. Louisville has the horses and they have the talent to beat every team left on their schedule. But unfortunately, unless there are sweeping changes and guys just somehow get it together, you're going to just continue to have these frustrating games. I just think that's why that was kind of my next point and what I wanted to ask you guys moving forward is so what from the expectations and your hopes and wishes and dreams for this Louisville football team from the beginning of the year, what has that changed to now? What is your attitude about this last half of the season? Now that we are at Louisville's played 7 games, so they only got what 5 left. How are you viewing this last 5 games of the year, Roman? I'm gonna let you go first because I feel like you have thoughts.
Yeah. When you sit like when I'm in a position right now where I feel like my season's over, and it wouldn't be if you would have beat SMU, if you would have
Yeah,
come out against SMU, a team that didn't have a quarterback that could pick you apart every throwing angle down the field and at any distance, right? They just
yeah,
had a up tempo offense that you needed to match their energy. That's all you had to do is match their energy, stuff the run, and prevent the big plays, the big deep plays, which they weren't going to ever have, right? If you would have just stuffed the run against an SMU, contained to Greg Jennings, you would have or Kevin Jennings. I'm sorry, um, called him Greg Jennings. Contained Kevin Jennings, and you get a win against SMU. Now you're in a whole different spot right now.
yeah.
You're like, well, the issues weren't as bad against Miami in terms of like our own.
Right.
We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot much at all, but
Yeah,
the third down plays against Cam Ward, you allowed it. You allowed a 22-yard run against the quarterback again, 20+ yard run against the quarterback again, and then you couldn't get the stops when you needed to, right? But if you're looking at this as your second loss, or Yeah, as your as,
Would have
as
been your
your
second loss, yes. Yeah, but
as
it
your
would have been
second
your
loss.
first loss in conference,
First loss
then
in conference and second
you
loss in
still
the
have a
season.
shot.
You still have a shot, and you're like, okay, well, we know for a fact this offense is good enough. If we can just figure this defense out a little bit better, which you would have wanted to see progress against SMU after Notre Dame, right? You wanted to see it right then, and you didn't.
Right.
So where I'm at this point is I'm not going to be drastic like some fans I've heard be, right? I mean, I do think at this point you kind of have to either a massive philosophy change with Ron English or you get rid of Ron English, which I think is the drastic end of it, right? I think you can probably go into the defensive coordinator to your defensive coordinator and be like, we're doing something differently. How do you want to go about doing it? Let's figure it out. And Matt, like we're not doing nickel coverage anymore at all. Take the nickel plays out, or not literally, but something
Yeah.
significantly different in the philosophy about how you want to defend.
Yeah.
That should be. I want that to be priority now for my football program,
Yeah.
and I want you to have certainty in your philosophy and your recruiting now, because one more season anywhere near like this of issues being in our control, right? Not just being not a good enough team, then it's your recruiting process isn't good enough. You've gotten 3 years and you've had plenty of what will be, probably NFL players, right, in multiple years, at least
Yeah.
draft combine guaranteed level kind of guys, right? And you're not making enough progress. You've gone down after a year one. If you stay on a lower trajectory again, you know, you've got to now. I need the changes in how you go about recruiting as well, because I don't want the offensive mind gone. With where Louisville is as an NIL program and where we're at in the expectation of what Louisville football is, I think
Yeah.
the brain that Jeff Brom has, you're not going to get a better person to take the program up, right?
Agree.
But he's only in year 2. You've got to let him figure it out. These are 12-game seasons. They're not. It's different than basketball.
Yeah.
2 seasons in basketball, if someone has it or not.
Yeah.
It takes 3 years to figure out if a recruit was worth it or not sometimes. So I'm not trying to be drastic in any way, shape, or form, but your defensive philosophy with Ron English is not worked. I want a priority in that changing, and then I want a kind of some tweaks in how you go about the way you would recruit and use your recruits or transfers. I say recruits, I mean that in a whole general
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. Just your new players, whoever
Yes.
they are. Yeah. Haven Harrington, what are you looking forward to? Like what is your mindset for this last 5 games?
Last 5 games, I think we will be lucky to end the season at 7-5. 7-5, maybe 6-6.
Wow, that is
It's
crazy.
probably it's probably what we're looking at right now.
That's
Uh,
not that is not anything that anybody involved
Nobody
in
saw that
Louisville
coming.
football wants to hear. Yeah, that's wild.
No, I
That is
mean
where
eight
we
and
are.
four was like the worst we saw coming.
Yes, that's what we
But
thought was like the floor.
yeah, but we're definitely going to get 2 more losses. On it's just it's easy 2 more losses on our schedule. That's either going to be Pitt. It's definitely going to be Clemson's going to be one of them, and
You
most
got
likely it's
UK
going to
at the
be
end of the year.
in UK at the end of the year.
We're beating UK. I already told y'all. Quit.
Yeah,
I
you
don't even want
did.
to hear that.
That's not
I don't even want to hear
changing.
that. I don't
That's
even want to
not
hear nothing
negotiable.
about that.
that,
It's not even
that
debatable.
that almost feels like they better beat UK.
I mean, they better beat UK because UK's that game
I don't
that
even
we
want to
were.
see Vandergrift finish the game.
Is
Yeah,
this going to be like the flip flop of what Kentucky normally does, where Kentucky has the subpar season but beats Louisville at the end of the year? So now Louisville's having the subpar year, and now we're happy
Yeah,
because we
Kentucky's
finally
like,
beat
oh, we
them.
could be 8-4,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
and we're
basically,
like,
yeah.
8-4, 8-4.
Because like one of the things is like the SMU game, we didn't match SMU's energy, and it showed. When we
Yeah.
go to Lexington, we better either match or exceed UK's energy because Stoops is going to have those dudes hyped up and ready to play us, and they're going to bring the heat and they're going to bring the anger, the hatred, and we got to be able to match that anger and hatred. We got better players. We've had better players than most of the teams we played this season, maybe except for Miami, and the results haven't panned out. So we'll
Yeah.
see. So we're probably looking at 7-5, 8-4 rest of the way, and then Brahms have to figure out his recruiting
So
situation.
what you're basically saying is, can we get to the Duke's Mayo Bowl? Is basically what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
but here's the thing,
Ah,
right? No, but no, but
We can't even get to the Pop Tarts Bowl.
no, true. I mean, but like here's the thing, right? And to Romy's point, Louisville's high school recruiting has been straight trash for 2 years. Like we really haven't recruited high school athletes because we've been so dependent on the portal. And then
Yeah.
after this year, all these hired guns are gone. Shuck's gone. Brooks is gone.
Gelati's
Colin,
gone.
Colin
Quincy
Lacey's gone. Your
Quincy
entire
Riley's
defense,
gone.
yeah, your
Yeah.
entire defense is gone. So you're literally going to have to go in the portal and get a whole new offensive squad and a whole new defensive squad
Yeah. Yeah.
and try to make work. So you're probably going to take another step down next year, which is why this year was like so important because you had all the pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, being able to the fact that you find your generational quarterback, or at least your best quarterback of a decade, and you bring back two what you consider to be high level generational type defensive end and cornerback, and you wasted it this year, is a difficult pill to swallow.
It
That is
is.
a
So
very
now, like I
difficult.
said, the rest of the season, Pittsburgh is going to be a super tough game to play. We'll beat Boston College. I firmly believe we'll beat Boston College by 7 to 10 points.
we'll beat Clemson.
We're going to lose to Clemson at Clemson. First of all, there's no way the ACC refs are going to let us beat Clemson. They
we've
won't
seen
let that
this.
happen.
We've seen this story before.
Yeah, and two,
I, that's
Clemson's.
why I'm not driving down to Clemson, Haven Harrington. I'm not.
I'm
I'm
with you
not
on that
going
one.
for that.
And two, Clemson's defense is much better than Miami's defense. Much better than Miami's defense. Uh,
Yeah, it's to be the best defense we've seen all year.
yeah, and their offense is pretty good too, and they'll be able to.
Eh,
Their offense is pretty good, and
eh.
they'll be able to sling it on our
What's the
secondary.
QB's name? Klubnik. What's his name?
Klubnik.
Klubnik, Cade
Eh.
Klubnik.
Tyler Shucks better.
He
Oh,
is.
no, he is better.
Louisville has better offensive weapons by far than Clemson, which is an odd thing to say, but
No, we
yeah,
got better offense. We have better running game, and we have better wide receivers and a better quarterback. The difference is that their wide receivers and quarterback going against our defense, and we're not going to get pressure. We're not going to get pressure on Cade Klubnik. He's have all day to stand back there and pick us apart, and he can run.
you know what's wild to think about, Haven, is the fact that they remember the conversation in the preseason was that the defense was dominating the offense, and that the defense was so far ahead of the offense,
That's
and
because Tyler and Jacory didn't have no chemistry yet. That's
like
all that is.
You know what I think it was? The fact that our offensive line was that terrible, and I think that Ron English thought that was just because we had a dominant pass rush, and not that
No.
our offensive line was crap.
You had Gelati going up against Mendoza at practice. Of course,
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, Asher Gelati's like the second coming to Lawrence Taylor. Like,
So yeah, so the
or
rest of the season
Jonathan
is going to
Mendoza
be
is terrible.
like I said. I think we're in 7-5. It's just
That's
depends on
crazy.
who those two losses are going to be to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, and for me, I think that the biggest thing that I'm looking at is how do we salvage this? The Dave Ragone year that I continue to bring up. That year was that they brought out the Dave Ragone bobbleheads at the beginning of the year,
But a
the
Heisman, yeah,
Ragone
his
for
Heisman
Heisman.
campaign. Yeah, I
They
remember that.
expected great they expected great things for that for Dave Ragone's senior year, and it just completely got dismantled because of just a horrible, horrible offensive line that just kind of dismantled everything. But that Louisville team was able to circle the wagons. They shook off a loss to Kentucky to start the year. They went
No,
out
that
there.
wasn't a loss to Kentucky.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. But they salvaged the year by beating Florida State and finding a way to win that game. And like now, it's kind of my mindset is on how this Louisville team can salvage this year. And
Beat
and
Kentucky.
yeah, and right now that's the game that's circled.
That's
It's
it.
like
Beat
find a way to
Kentucky.
beat Kentucky, find a way to knock off Pittsburgh, win your rest of your home games. If you can at least win the rest of your home games and find a way to beat Kentucky, then you've got to be happy, with the rest of your season. But I mean, it's just now. It's just watching how things progress and how things get better. I still expect to see a lot of improvement, and by the time Coach Braun brings this team back, I say the rest of your home. You only got one home game left, but beat Pittsburgh. I put it like that: beat Pittsburgh when they come in here. Beat Kentucky at the end of the year. Um, and
Salvage.
just
Yeah.
and that salvages something for this year because I would just hate for it to end like that. But I don't look at it as disappointment. I look at it as a missed opportunity. But
Yeah.
Oh
because
no,
like
I'm
like,
thoroughly
like you
disappointed.
like you say, Roman, like we got Jeff Brom. So the one thing I know about Jeff Brom is we're always going to put a competitive offensive team on the field. The thing that I question is, what are we going to do on the defensive side? Like I feel like the Ron English almost everybody that I spoke to or heard from was not down with Ron English coming back here to be the defensive coordinator before, when Jeff got the job. Everybody knew that Ron English was the guy who Jeff had with him at Purdue. Nobody wanted him. And everybody shut up and was happy because the defense was good last year. And it feels like it's almost been a year delayed before what everybody thought would happen with the
What the
Ron English
reality was
coordinator.
going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so at that point, I am now building towards next year right now. Like everything that Louisville does from here on out is building towards next year. How do we hold on to Jamari Johnson and Isaac Brown? How do we hold on to the guys that we can hold on to? That were the playmakers. Hold on to a Duke Watson. Hold on to the Keywan Brown. Like those playmakers that we have that we know are good. Let's hold on to those guys. Let's hold on to those best parts. And who do we need to bring in to get it better? But I'm not discouraged. I am just more frustrated because I understand the opportunity that Louisville had. But it's still a story to be written. Like Louisville football story is not over for this year. They can still finish strong. They can still go to a good bowl game and utilize a good bowl game to slingshot them into next year. So I don't look at it as an ending. I mean, look at NC State. NC State basically had the same start to the season last year that Louisville had this year. But NC State finished very strong. They finished on a bit of a high note, and they were able to utilize that to propel them into this year. Now, of course, they fell flat on their face this year with all
That's a
that
horrible
momentum.
analogy
No,
because
but
it's
but
such.
but but literally, I mean, but they utilized that momentum from the end of the year to get excitement going for the next year, and I think that's where, as with Louisville football right now, it's about building excitement for next year, and that starts with your next game.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. Is this is the start of year 3 right now? It's like, what are we gonna do now to get ready for next year?
That's
So
Well,
fair.
I will say this, and this will say a lot about Brom as a coach, right? Because if remember Bobby 1.0 when he was here the first time, and that
mhm,
first season, I think we go 9-3. Well, we lost to Memphis and a couple other squads we didn't expect to lose to, and we had I think Gilhammer was the defensive coordinator, and we got tossed up by Ben Roethlisberger in the bowl game. He like ran all
oh
over us,
gosh,
threw all over us, and we could do nothing with Big Ben.
I remember.
And Gilhammer was gone. He was here one season defense coordinator, and they fired him. And then we brought in the guy from Illinois,
Yeah,
and he came in and was just okay.
yeah,
So then we
Wolfhausen.
decided, you know what, we want to make Peter Wolfhausen the third down coach.
Yeah.
And then all was written. Then everything took off from there.
Yeah,
So can can Braun make that change?
that's the question, and
That's gonna
that's
be the
what gets
question.
started Friday night. Friday night is the first chance.
Friday
Friday
night.
night is the start of year 3. Like I'm putting that on everything. This is all about building
Would you start
momentum
Pierce
towards year
Clarkson and make it a true start of year 3?
No.
no. Hey, I want to
Yeah, I
see
know.
I want to see every Tyler Shuck pass. I have enjoyed watching Tyler and the
He's
way he's
dealing.
played. He's dealing like the brother was
If
in his bag on Saturday.
if we had Tyler Shuck last year,
Oh man, my goodness, like it's so frustrating, but I get so much enjoyment out of watching Brooks, Lacey, Shuck, and Brown operate.
They
Like,
do.
and
I mean,
that
God,
we
we got
got
such a
that, we got
we got such a
monsters on
squad.
offense, man.
We
Yes,
got such a squad.
yes.
Just
So
this makes your heart hurt.
it sucks. It definitely sucks because it's one of those things where it's a wasted year, but it doesn't mean that it has to be a wasted, that there's nothing that to be gained. And I think that's the biggest way that I'm looking at it. So I'm just ready for the next chapter to be written. Hopefully this team will get it worked out. I know that Jeff Brom is not going to rest until he gets it figured out. And I know he and English are friends, and I know that he doesn't want to, do anything silly like part ways in the middle of the season or any of that. But he has not held his tongue when he's talked about the ridiculousness of how bad the defense has been. So I think one way or the other, he's going to get it worked out, and we could see a new direction come next year. So we'll see, fellas. We'll see. But I tell you what, man, that is an hour in the books, man. We have been rolling. I feel like we could have gone for another 30 minutes an hour easily on this. But I'm gonna let Romy Bean go because I know he's ready to go watch his Lakers. You know what I'm saying? He wants to see Bronny get in there and do, turn the ball over.
Watch Winning Time, young man. Watch Winning Time.
Absolutely. You
I'm
definitely need to
telling
watch
you.
Winning Time.
I'll
Now,
watch it.
now that I have seen it, Roman, you definitely see because I
If
lived
you
through a
think
lot of that. You need to
I'm
see
putting it,
that.
if you think you like the Lakers now, when you watch Winning Time, you're gonna love the Lakers.
You liked it, Rashawn?
It was good. It was really good. It's a very there's a lot of stuff because I was so young at the time that all this was happening that I didn't realize or remember. So seeing Winning Time kind of tell that story, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Just
I'll have to
that
give it a look
you
because
got to check
I
that
only
out.
know the vague details about that
It
time
will
frame and
make
stuff. So
you love the Lakers.
Yeah.
I
It,
already
it's
do. So
it's really good.
No,
You'll
I mean
enjoy
like
it.
love the Lakers, and you'll be even more impressed by Magic Johnson's the greatest Laker of all time.
There he goes. It's still Kobe. Regardless, it's still Kobe, and you know this, Haven Harrington.
Magic is the
Oh, here
greatest
we
Laker of
go.
all time. Without Magic, there is no Lakers.
Yeah, yeah. Show him, Roman. There he is.
Without
Bean.
Magic, there's no Lakers.
That is fair. That's
Watch
absolutely
Winning Time.
fair.
that's
Matter of
fair.
fact, no Magic, there's no NBA.
There's no NBA. Yeah.
Hey, well, there wouldn't be any main event sports without Haven Harrington, but Rashawn Myers is still the man. I love you, Haven. Hey, and look, yeah, speaking of main event sports, Wake Up 502 and everything else, man, make sure you guys come to wakeup502.com. Check out everything that's going on. Roman has his own page now, so check out what's going on with
I need to get
Romy
on there. I'll have some
Bean.
stuff on there for you guys very, very soon. Go check me out on Romy's room.
There you go. So check out Romy's room. Check out all the good stuff. Haven Harrington has put so much work into their website. The architect, he's the reason he's the architect, man. He's always doing stuff. He's sending me little updates. Don't let Haven's work go to waste. So check out wakeup502.com. Make sure you check us out every Saturday morning, 9 to 11 a.m. on 96.1 FM, 1450 a.m. And you know what, fellas? It's been a good one. But Haven, like we always say, without struggle,
There is no progress.